The night that he passed, 8:30 p.m. on a Tuesday night, they sent me away to not see the scene. I woke up at 4 in the morning. The first thought in my mind, I remember it again like last night, was, am I ever going to be able to afford another soccer shoe? And the fact that, I just felt very insecure. Is the financial security gone forever?
With $27 and a Stanford degree, an immigrant built and sold his first company. He went on to run a $6 billion business across 132 countries at Cisco, then joined Groq's leadership. Today, he's vice chair of DDN, the Blackstone-backed $5 billion company powering data infrastructure behind over 500,000 Nvidia GPUs.
Extra AI with Groq, with a K, not Q, runs the largest file system known to mankind, which runs on DDN.
And today, he sits down with Sam to break down exactly how you get from $27 to the center of the AI revolution.
And he looked at me and said, kid, I've decided to give this project to you. But make sure you don't disappoint me. I shook his hands. I said, Michael, I will never disappoint you.
Did a landmark deal with Nvidia for $20 billion, if I'm right. How important is that? You also had an offer from Apple when Steve Jobs was CEO, right?
Man, you've done your homework. I'm impressed. Steve, if it was not inappropriate, I would come across the table and hug you and kiss you because you don't even know what kind of an impact you had in my life. I first became a millionaire because of you.
There are few players similar to what you guys do. How do you see the competitive landscape?
This was the first AI war the world witnessed. All the targets inside Iran were used with AI software. If your country has no AI capability, you're at a major disadvantage.
What would you say to a young 20-year-old?
Don't ever allow anyone to tell you.
Mohsen, thank you so much for being here. It's a real pleasure. And welcome to the Making of Tomorrow podcast.
Sam, thanks for having me.
Fantastic. I want to get into, you're in the middle of what's happening, probably the biggest infrastructure build out in the history of maybe mankind, right?
I've never seen anything this big.
Right. I saw you talking about your excitement that you have for the space here. I want to get into all of that AI infrastructure, inference, sovereign AI, DDN, and what's where the whole industry is going. But before we get into that, while I was researching about you, I found your background to be absolutely fascinating. And some of the things that you talked about is quite similar to, the kind of the values that I had. So I really want to start there. So let's start where, when you graduated from Stanford with, I think it's $27. Can we start there?
Sure.
What was it like? And did you have this idea that you want to be this person that, right center at the middle of AI revolution?
I'll get there, but it's important for you to understand the context. I was born in Iran, in Tehran, luckily to a prominent family. My father, twice minister of the cabinet. Unfortunately, one thing that happened in my life early on and has had an impact on it, to this date, I haven't been able to fully recover from that scar, was at age 7, that very prominent figurehead and father died suddenly due to a heart attack.
Right.
And I have one brother who was at the time in boarding school in England. My mother and I were living in London. And so suddenly this very powerful personality's absence in life really started shaping me and also leading to a bunch of insecurities that were deep in my gut. And to this date, I haven't been able to recover from those insecurities, but I sort of cover it with other muscles.
Right.
And so on. So that is a fundamental and a formative event in my life. So fast forward to your thing. So I come to California, to get educated and go back to Iran and lead a life of a relatively comfortable kid from a comfortable family. And the Iranian Revolution happened. When the Iranian Revolution happened, obviously there was no option B. We had to make option A work, and option A was to remain in the United States and make a life. So I did. Went to Stanford. I got my engineering master's degree, and when I finished Stanford thing, again we were lucky through whatever push and pull. We afforded the college. My mom took care of us. But the day I graduated from Stanford, I literally had $27 of cash and a MasterCard with $900 credit, and with a very funny name, Mohsen.
Yeah.
How do you spell that? Mohsen.
And at the time, it must be even more difficult, right? Because, we're talking few years, few decades back, right?
First of all, no green card,
Yeah.
no permanent residency, no American passport, with a funny name from a funny country, which hostilities with the United States had started. And of course, 22, 23-year-old kid has nothing to do with nothing, but you're sometimes guilty by association.
Yeah.
But again, this is what I love about America and the U.S., because as long as you're willing to work hard, all doors are open. Of course, luck matters in life for everyone. You got to be lucky. But as long as you're willing to put in the work, America gives you the opportunity to become whomever you want. And I did what pretty much every Stanford engineer does. I started a technology company, and I was the founder and CEO. I didn't even know that you can go and raise money from venture capitalists, and I didn't have any, rich uncle or rich cousin or rich daddy or whatever. We had to make it work the old-fashioned way, in a sense, make money and then spend money. So I started my journey as a founder, CEO, and entrepreneur in California, and luckily, 8.5 years later, that company was acquired by what is today known as Accenture.
Right. Yeah.
And I became a senior partner in the world of professional services. I had a 3-year earnout. I ended up staying 4, and then that's where that journey began. But a lot of interesting things even happened when I was the founder and CEO. At the right moment, I would love to talk about it.
What you talked about losing your father at age 7. That's a massive impact.
Devastating.
Right?
Devastating.
And you also talked about that's the insecurity that helped you to fuel to go and do whatever.
Yes.
But for most people, having that kind of an event is almost like a drawback, But how did you use that to fuel to go and do what you need to do?
As a child, I loved football, soccer. And I remember the night that he passed, 8:30 p.m. on a Tuesday night, and we were all home, and obviously my mom was in a panic, and all family was gathering and so on. They sent me away to not see the scene around that incident. And that night when I went to my aunt's house nearby, I woke up at 4 a.m. The first thought in my mind, I remember it again like last night, was, am I ever going to be able to afford another soccer shoe or football shoes? Which I was a big fan of Adidas. And I said, no. So as the association of the father and the father figurehead with financial security and the fact that, I just felt very insecure, is the financial security gone forever as a 7-year-old kid? So it was a devastating blow. And to this day, I'm sitting in front of you.
Yeah.
If I tell you I fully recovered from it, I would be lying.
Yeah. Right. And also, being an immigrant is to another new country is not easy. Like I've done it when I was 19. And One of the things, like, was it a couple of days ago, I was reading this article. Jensen Huang mentioned that one of the reasons why Nvidia is super successful is because they have a lot of immigrants, and immigrants make some part of their business is very successful. And you had this mindset that failure is not an option as an immigrant. Can you talk to me about where that come from? Is it part of because of that experience with your father? Where that mentality come from, that failure is not an option?
Again, and that insecurity that I mentioned led to a lot of accomplishments afterwards, from being the captain of the high school's soccer team all the way to, getting a top-notch education and so on. So I was just driven to prove myself, number one, and to make sure that all of this financial insecurity and so on that I was worried about, it doesn't come to realization. But the beauty of the United States, and I say it to every young person I see all over the world, it's an amazing place. It's a land of immigrants. Yeah. You may hear rhetorics, administrations come, administrations go, no immigration, yes immigration. This is the country of immigrants. And everything is built by immigrants. I live in Silicon Valley now. That 30, 35 square miles, which everything we pretty much use these days is invented there.
Right.
Whether you're using Google Maps, whether you're using Apple iPhone, whether you're using Nvidia chips, everything is there.
Yeah.
I mean, Jensen Huang is an immigrant.
Right. Yeah.
The CEO of Google, Sundar Pichai, is an immigrant. And. So I think being an immigrant in that beautiful system of the U.S. is a superpower.
And that enables people to get the best out of themselves, right?
As long as you're willing to do the work. Of course, that country has paved the way for me, but in all honesty, I've worked hard for whatever I've accomplished. Then later, I was blessed with a partner, my current wife, the mother of my 3 children, who also was an amazing backbone of the family while I was out and about trying to make a living and make a big career for myself and so on. She was there making sure the kids are taken care of, the home is taken care of. I never had to worry about that aspect of family and life and so on. I mean, so, and again, I want to acknowledge and thank her. But this immigrant mindset is a superpower.
Yeah. And so you had $27 to your name, and then you had a software engineering job at the time after.
Yeah, I was an engineer from Stanford. I started a technology company that was focused on client-server computing.
Yeah.
You guys are too young to remember. That was very vogue, like AI is today.
Right.
And I want to mention a person who had a very important impact in my life. The most powerful talent agency in Hollywood, in all of Hollywood, the world of Hollywood, is a company called Creative Artists Agency, CAA. CAA was formed by 3 partners. And one of the partners, the head managing partner, was Michael Steven Ovitz, MSO, Michael Steven Ovitz. And I'm very poor. I was bidding for a project at CAA and running for it for months. One day, Michael Ovitz calls me into his office back then in the city of Los Angeles, in Century City. I remember it again, like yesterday. And I'm my 20s. And he looked at me and said, "Kid, I've decided to give this project to you.
Wow.
But make sure you don't disappoint me." I shook his hands. I said, "Michael, I will never disappoint you." And he sent me downstairs to pick up a check for $120,000. I still have a picture signed by his chief financial officer, Bruce King, of CAA. I had never seen a check that big in my life. It was a yellow check with a black ink signed by Bruce King. And I still have a framed picture of it. And that relationship and thanks to the trust that Michael Ovitz put in Mohsen, a immigrant kid with nothing to show for, was a breakthrough in my business career. And over the years, my relationship, my company with CAA became tens of millions of dollars.
Yeah.
And a bond between Michael and me that to this date, God bless him, he lives in Los Angeles. There's anything I need, I drop him a note, consider it done. So sometimes you get unexpected breaks, luck, or somebody believes in you.
Yeah.
Somebody takes a bet on you.
Right.
And my advice to all the leaders is, from time to time, believe in somebody with less experience, less track record, because typically those people are hungrier.
Yeah.
And they deliver. When I shook his hands, I didn't know what I was signing up to. I did the entire software system for all of CAA. The entire management layer of CAA was done software that my team and I developed. He just said, "Don't disappoint me." And I knew I was not going to disappoint him.
It's a conviction you had in you.
I would sleep on their beautiful headquarters, the first IM Pay designed building in the west coast of the United States, in Beverly Hills. I would go there Friday afternoon and I'd leave Monday. I would sleep on couches in the hallway, just making sure Michael was taken care of. And his business, he was dealing with all the biggest movie stars in Hollywood, all the music stars in Hollywood, and so on. So I just made sure that Michael is taken care of.
Yeah. And the reason why you got that is because you had this consistently you were going after that particular business, and what was it about that?
No, often you make promises. I never promote the concept of promising something that in your heart you can't deliver.
Yeah.
Don't be fake, because that gets you into trouble and it's immoral and unethical. But as long as you have conviction in yourself that I know I don't have this capability now, but I will have it, I will get it, and I will deliver it. Go for it.
Yeah.
Don't stop. I don't have it. I don't know how to do this. You'll figure it out.
Yeah. Super. Yeah.
You will figure it out. Promise you.
Yeah.
So I'm having that conviction in your own ability that one way or another you're going to figure this out.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so important.
It's an asset.
Yeah.
I didn't know what I was signing up to, but I could figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. How was it like getting your first client? It's also part of you probably feel like I have responsibility now because I need to deliver on this. But equally, you must have been super excited. Did you have a big team at the time, or
at Cisco or after?
In your own firm.
Yeah, the day we were acquired, I don't know, we were about 70 people in my company, and the whole team moved over to the professional services side and Accenture. I had a 3-year earnout and I ended up staying 4. And then in the 90s, I got recruited by Cisco. John Chambers, the CEO of Cisco, an amazing man, an amazing leader who I learned a lot from. And Cisco, my kind of luck, became the darling of Wall Street, the most valuable company on the planet while I was there, and sort of the Nvidia of its time.
Right.
The sweetheart of everyone. And again, during that cycle, all the way to the dot-com collapse, I learned so much about scaling, and then the opposite of scaling, when we had to do the first layoff in the history of Cisco with 8,500 fine men and women, where we as leaders had to select and lay off. The first time we had to do this, because until then, Cisco was doubling and tripling in size every year.
Yeah.
I would get reprimanded, by management, why aren't you hiring fast enough? Why are you slow? Hire, hire, hire. And suddenly we had to lay off.
Yeah.
What is a layoff?
Yeah.
Again, learning, Jack Welch, the former CEO of GE, had this concept of until companies face near-death experiences, they don't become great companies.
Yeah.
It was not a near death, but when we had to take the $3.5 billion write-down as a company, and it's just all of our customers in the dot-com world suddenly started disappearing.
Yeah.
Again, you're a young man, you don't remember. These were all these service providers in ILEX, local exchange carriers, CLEX, competitive local exchange carriers, sort of were supposed to come and compete with Verizon and compete with AT&T and so on. They were formed, they were funded, they bought hundreds of millions of dollars a year from Cisco, and then they disappeared.
That must
So
be difficult.
a very, very tough period, which really we all as a team learned a lot about.
Yeah. And before you joined Cisco, I believe you also had a offer from Apple when Steve Jobs was CEO, right?
Man, you've done your homework. I'm impressed.
Well, I researched for this for three days, maybe more.
Stanford Business Systems, the company I told you about that I made business with CIA, was basically created, inspired by the Apple Macintosh.
Yeah, right.
That was the first time I fell in love with a machine. You fell in love with human beings. This time I fell in love with a machine. They had a campaign, Apple. You leave an ID, you take a Mac home for 24 hours. And they had two programs, Mac Write and Mac Draw. I took it home. I had the job. I was working for a living, I don't know, making $40,000 a year, whatever. And I had my lovely wife, no kids. I didn't sleep for 24 hours. Drag and drop. Oh, my God. Copy and paste. Can you imagine? Copy and paste. I just said, my wife woke up the next day. I said, honey, I want to make a living using this machine. She said, are you crazy? I have a job, you have insurance and so on.
Right.
I said, I don't care. I want to make a living using this machine. So Apple and Steve Jobs had a major role in my life without him knowing. He didn't know me from Adam.
Yeah.
But it's June of 1999. I've had the 5 interviews with the different executives at Apple, the old headquarters, Infinity Loop in Cupertino. And my 6th interview, bless her, the lady head of HR for Apple, Eileen Schloss, walked me to Steve Jobs' office. And Steve had just returned back to Apple after being fired. And they had created these translucent Macs. You could see into them, blue and yellow and all beautiful designs, but you could see inside the machine. And he put his feet on with his sandals on the floor and so hey kid, what do you think? I said, Steve, if it was not inappropriate, I would come across the table and hug you and kiss you, because you don't even know what kind of an impact you had in my life. I first became a millionaire because of you.
Yeah.
And your machine that you created, the Macintosh. So, very interesting. He didn't know that. But, he said, just come and work here. I said, at the time, Apple was just selling to schools and so on. I was not very excited about just going and selling to schools.
Right.
I loved the motion of selling to banks and financial institutions and big companies. And he said, kid, quote unquote, God bless his soul, kid, you don't even know a fraction of what we are up to. I said, he didn't tell me iPod, he didn't tell me iPad, he didn't tell me iMac, iPhone, nothing. He just said, kid, you don't even know a fraction of the stuff we're up to. And, he had a tough reputation. One day you're wearing the wrong color shirt or T-shirt, so you're fired. Because I was going to be a direct report to him. They wanted me to run worldwide professional services for Apple. And so I chose, Cisco, which was the darling of Wall Street, the CEO of the year, the stock of the year, whatever. So I made and again, I don't regret it because Cisco was an amazing company and John Chambers was an amazing leader.
But is it for many, like at least for me, I find Steve Jobs is probably the one of the greatest inventors of our time.
Bar none. I mean, we have Elon now, but
Yeah.
at the time, when the day I don't know. Again, you're a young man. Do you remember the day he died? Everywhere in the world, from Japan to Palo Alto, people were holding a vigil. I mean, as if he was everybody's uncle.
Right.
I mean, I personally, with my wife in Palo Alto, where he lived, we went 2-3 nights in a row to his house. Hundreds of people gathering outside of his house, opening, lighting up candles, putting their iPods in his backyard. Everybody felt very personal about Steve because he had an impact on all of our lives.
Yeah.
And today, everywhere you go around the world, from Sri Lanka to Los Angeles, people are sitting and tapping on these glasses.
Yeah.
He did it.
Yeah. And was there anything, you talked about John Chambers' voicemail was a call from God, as a quote. Was there anything that he said that you were like, this is where I belong?
I still have the voicemail.
Oh, do you?
Back then, the kids who were listening to this or watching this, what is a voicemail? We had voicemail. He called me. I was in Atlanta for a meeting. I woke up in the morning and I saw it. I had a voicemail from John Chambers, who was, again, one of the top leaders of the Valley back then. He said, Mohsen, everybody really likes you here, and we want you to be here at Cisco.
Yeah.
And that was the closer.
Mm. And you, I think you also talk about
Bostrom
being a leader that helped you to build leadership.
She took me under a very smart, strong, capable leader and lady. And for the first time that I had a female boss, she was the direct report to John Chambers. And she really, I learned a lot from her. One of the things, as you make a transition from being an entrepreneur to corporate America and so on, one of the things I remember that she got me a coach, a career coach, to slow me down. Let me tell you what that means. When you're a CEO, founder of your own company, I'm a 70-person company, you just make decisions and make it happen. You make it in the morning, in the afternoon it happens, but you don't necessarily worry about the ramifications and consequences. There are other people, this guy's ego may get hurt, and so on. So this young lady who became my coach, who would come and spend 1 or 2 days a week at Cisco with me, her job was to help me slow down and become more sage, to quote unquote sage. Because now when you're dealing with a larger corporation, you have colleagues, you have peers, you have groups, your decisions can impact many people. So you need to really slow down and understand the full impact of your decisions and so on, because now it's a bigger organization. So again, Sud realized the potential in me, and we're still friends, and she's in a bunch of very prominent boards in Silicon Valley and so on, and I'm grateful to her.
Yeah, fantastic. And let's talk about the time at Cisco. You ran a huge business. What was the fastest growing segment in Cisco, I think?
The last 4 years. I was at Cisco 12 years.
Yeah.
First 8 years, I was in corporate headquarters doing various functions, running the global retail, global consumer packaged goods, distribution, industries, and then later public sector. But then this group was formed called Emerging Markets, which was all the fast-growing parts of the world, the economies and GDPs that were growing, and sort of from India to Russia, CIS, Middle East, Turkey, Eastern Europe, Africa, all the way to Latin America, 132 countries. It was a $6 billion P&L. And then the Cisco leadership asked me to move to London with my wife and 3 kids to help, to join the leadership of emerging markets and look after these 132 countries, 4,000 people strong across all these geographies and so on. It was a phenomenally exciting part of my career, despite the air miles.
Yeah, man. But how do you begin to manage 132 countries? What are the key things you need to have in place? Are these the right people in your team? What are the things that you need to have?
First and foremost, empower.
Hmm.
Don't think you can run 132 countries. You have strong country leaders who understand local culture, local customs, local rules, and you enable them, you empower them, you get their HR, you get their finance groups, and then you set the objectives at the high level and you get out of their way. So it's not us running Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
There is a very capable Saudi Arabian team sitting in Saudi Arabia running it, but you hold them accountable for a certain number, for a certain margin contribution, and so on. So the strategy was set by us in London, and then it was communicated to the leadership of all these countries, and then they would localize those plans for their countries and their regions, and you empower and get out of the way.
Yeah.
All you need to do there is you assist. You help remove obstacles for them.
Yeah. Right.
Because also when you become global in scale, that's another problem. Vast, it happens to Google, happens to Apple. The bulk of the leadership sits in California.
Yeah.
They think very American. They approach everything very American, but they don't realize that, the way India runs is different than the way California runs.
Right.
So that requires a bunch of education. My good friends, my good colleagues sitting in San Jose in the corporate headquarters, let's understand the nuances of operating in Brazil.
Yeah.
Of operating in Colombia, of operating in India. And it's not the same rules, So that was a bit of a challenge or a struggle, if you may, to make sure everybody is on the same page. But over time, we got better and better and better. And yes, you were right. For the few years that this team was in place, we delivered the fastest growth to all of Cisco.
Yeah. 6 billion P&L, if I was right.
Correct.
And one of your big ideas at Cisco was called country transformation, where you're seeing governments to see broadband as another, not just technology, but also as a national utility, like after water, electricity, and roads. Do you think that's the same playbook now AI going to play, given that the governments want to see, where their data, etc.? Would you sell AI the same way?
You see, we as a provider of technology, and at the end of the day, we sold the technology. And dealing with 132 countries, you have all kinds of government, from democracies, from like Brazil and India, to not so democracies in the Middle East. So what is the common language that you can use that equally excites all these audiences? All leadership, we found very quickly, all people who run countries, whether it's Argentina or whether it is United Arab Emirates, care about citizen healthcare, citizen education, and citizen standard of living. Everybody wants to create a better standard of living for their citizens. And to promote what country transformation really meant was a fancy term for the fact that broadband, which Cisco was an enabler of broadband, can help create competitive advantage for your country. Better education, better standard of living, people making more money, living happier and healthier lives. Now you talked about AI. I think AI is country transformation on steroids. It's no question that it has to be a national priority for all world leaders. Not only again for empowering citizens and for whatever, helping solve for cancer, that AI will play a key role. But right now we're sitting in July 2026, and unfortunately we witnessed this war in the Middle East between Israel, Iran, and United States. And you saw for the first time even war being executed with AI. This was the first AI war the world witnessed.
Yeah.
All the targets inside Iran were used, I'm not going to name the company, but with AI software, all the targeting was done by AI. So if your country has no AI capability, you're at a major disadvantage.
And so, while you touch upon that, let's talk about sovereign AI. I think there's something that you talked about. You also talked about the, for example, Saudi Arabia is 3 kilowatt per hour to
3 cents
3 cents,
per kilowatt hour.
and then 30 in the UK. So, how should if you are advising Downing Street tomorrow, right? What would you say to UK government? Like, it seems like it's almost impossible to compete with a country that has lower cost for electricity. How would you go about?
Great point. Again, you mentioned UK, and I have tremendous amount of UK for the education system it has. Rarely anywhere else you can find universities the quality of Cambridge and Oxford and Cambridge and UCL and Imperial College continue to produce amazing talent. So phenomenal job and talent. But at the end of the day, this talent has to come to the workforce and produce companies like DeepMind,
Right.
that sits right there in London. For their craft to work, they need access to compute, and for the compute to work, you need access to cheap power or competitive power. If you are 10x more expensive than your neighboring country or a country 5 hours flight away, you're at a disadvantage. And availability of power, permitting, all the permitting process, how quickly, as I'm putting my data centers up and so on, how quickly can I get to power and access power is also a sort of competitive advantage. And again, many countries like the UK really get it and are putting their muscle behind it and so on. But generally speaking, I'm a homeowner in London, and I know the energy price lifts that I've been getting the last 4 years, 5 years, and so on. It's not the most competitive on the planet. So really countries have to develop policies. This country, we're sitting in France right now, obviously is noted for nuclear power, one of the most capable nuclear energy countries in the world. And again, maybe it's nuclear is the answer because it's infinite power at relatively cheaper prices. So power
Energy is
is a bottleneck.
Yeah, right. And then you also then you quit Cisco in 2012, I think, and then you had your own investing firm.
Yes.
Raised.
Yes, I raised about $300 million from my Cisco clients, ultra high net worth individuals, and got an office on Sand Hill Road where all the VCs are,
Right.
and started acting like a VC, and we got into some bunch of good investments.
DoorDash is one of your ones, right? DoorDash.
I mean, I was a limited partner in a fund in Palo Alto, which did the entire seed round. And that company is called Pair VC, which I fortunately believed in the team and believed in the founder. And we supported them we took a few percentage of the whole pool. And that led to amazing returns
Yeah.
on DoorDash,
Yeah. It's fantastic.
which we were beneficiaries of.
I find most successful people in their career, they go and went to become start investing. Is that a pattern, or did you have any reason why you did you wanted to say become a investor?
Um, when I became a VC, 2000, let's say 13, very quickly I realized at board level, there are two kinds of board levels on these venture-backed companies. One were former operators like me, who are good in operational issues, scaling, and so on, but not necessarily whiz kids on spreadsheets and numbers. Then there's these MBA hotshots who have finished, Harvard or Oxford or Princeton or Stanford, and they come in and they can look at a spreadsheet 17 different ways, upside down, sideways, and so on, and figure it out. I can't. And then I realized after the day two, the entrepreneurs really gravitated towards the more operators because now they had to struggle with learning how to hire, how to fire, how to scale the business, how to open a door to the next country, how to penetrate India. All of those issues, the spreadsheet focused types are less effective than the guys who've been there, done that. So my recommendation, again, investment is a great career and you have the ability to influence help build a lot of great companies, help a lot of great founders, and, derive personal benefits in terms of great returns as well. But if you don't have that operating experience, I'd recommend not jumping into the world of investments
Right.
until you've gone there, built something, done something, sold something.
Because then you know what's the mechanics of doing that. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
That's my recommendation, but there's no one single formula.
Yeah, right. And when you were at Groq at the office of the CEO, did a landmark deal with Nvidia for $20 billion, if I'm right.
Yes.
What does that? How important is that for, especially like technology, like in inference? And do you see this is going to be the case for, given that there's going to be a lot of appetite for capex in AI? Do you see this is the way that companies will probably transfer talent as a way of doing these kind of deals? How do you see this
Well,
whole deal?
the Groq story was a beautiful chapter in my life. 2 years and 2 or 3 months in total, from October 2023 to December 2025, when the big transaction happened. And first and foremost, let's just be clear about it. It was not a walk in the park. It is really, really hard to do a company of impact without setbacks, without ups and downs. We faced existential moments several times in that period that at least I had the privilege of being involved with the Groq story. And that resilience of the team, not just the founder, is critical because there are moments that things are not going your way, things look bleak, but you got to power through it and not losing hope and not losing the compass, the true north of where you're heading and so on through these bumps and up and down, because there's a lot of ups and downs. And doing hardware, any kinds of hardware, is very, very difficult. Everything is hard, but doing hardware is especially hard. So that's one thing. The other thing is it took a couple of iterations, but at Groq, we were blessed to ultimately come up with the right team. Not on the first try, not on the second try, but multiple iterations. We really had a powerful team. And people who were capable of running their own domains with minimum supervision and management. They were experts in their domains, and they were excel in their own domains and run with the ball as they wish. And we would just get together to course correct whenever we needed to do so. But ultimately, combination of the founder's vision and the quality of the team that we had assembled was very attractive to a buyer, in this case Nvidia, to consummate a deal for $20 billion, which, by the way, came together very, very quickly in less than a month, almost 3 weeks.
Yeah.
But ultimately, what the leadership of Nvidia wanted on their side of the house was that high-quality talent, which on Christmas Day of 2025, and hundreds of our colleagues were wearing the Nvidia badge.
Right.
And so on, So what you said is very accurate. And again, we've seen multiple examples of that in the Valley, Scale AI and Meta, and a bunch of other things where big companies do essentially an acqui-hire.
How difficult is to hiring, given that it's a small area, and especially in the data side as well, there's 5-6 players. How difficult is to hire great talent, or is there a way to go about it?
At the surface level, at the high level, it's hard. I don't know whether you've had a chance to visit any Google campus lately. There's one you live in London, King's Cross, beautiful campus. From, whatever, massage rooms and swimming pools and gyms. And, it's like working at a 5-star resort.
Right.
So, how do you, as a startup, you can't do all those facilities. So that's the difficult part. The easy part is empowering relatively young and capable people, mostly engineers, to solve very complex problems with degrees of freedom, with minimum supervision. People really get excited if they have the ability to solve hard, complex problems rather than go in a big machinery of an Apple or Google, which are iconic companies, and I have nothing but respect for them. But ultimately, you're one of many at those big companies. When you come to a smaller company like Groq, you can make a significant impact. And many get motivated by that impact. And then the risk reward, of course, companies fail in Silicon Valley all the time. But when they succeed, everybody in the staff benefits from it.
Let's talk about DDN, where you are the vice chair.
Yes.
So the question I had was, you had an amazing career, ran Cisco, 132 countries, being a part of Nvidia Groq deal. In my opinion, you could have done anything, but you chose DDN. Why?
Very simple. Again, it goes with friendship and trust. The Blackstone executive who had invested in DDN, who's a very smart and capable individual, is a friend of mine. Literally within 10 days of me being unemployed, he called and said, Mohsen, there's this great company called DDN, and you should take a look at it, and they can benefit from your assistance. And that person was the managing director of Blackstone. His name is Jazz. And a couple of conversations with him and his team convinced me to take a deeper look at the thing. And then I looked at DDN. Ironically, I knew the founders for multi-decades, but I never done business with them. They're all very capable, accomplished people, top education from Caltech and MIT and other great institutions. And I felt that this company is very close to an inflection point,
Yeah.
and I can assist them, and it can lead to a win-win outcome. So again, started again with the friendship and trust. The fact that Jazz was the initiator of that request
Yeah.
from Blackstone, and then I did my own homework, and I had the sense, that, oh my God, this company has potential. And luckily, here we are in 2026. We at DDN are going to have a record revenue year in the history of the company.
Fantastic.
So far so good.
So far, so good. And so, I think if my research right, DDN says they keep GPUs running at 99% utilization, and when many in the industry is about 40 to 60%. How does DDN achieve that? But also, what's the economic value? If there was like 100,000 GPUs, and then only 50% of that is actually utilized. What's the economic value for a customer to have?
My friend, first and foremost, in a nutshell, DDN is the data engine that empowers the AI economy. Ultimately, you cannot argue, of course, compute is important, power is important. Those are infrastructure elements. Ultimately, people, businesses, business people, government leaders make decisions based on data.
Yep.
Accurate, timely, clean data will lead to better decisions. And all of that data layer, all of the intelligence associated with the data layer is managed by DDN. Now, the best infrastructures out there today, with a lot of GPUs deployed, let's assume 50% utilization, 40 to 60% utilization.
That's a huge commercial,
On a $50 million CapEx environment, that translates to $20 million of lost productivity. So ultimately, all of us as business leaders, it's not, do I have the best AI infrastructure? I have to have the most productive AI infrastructure. And DDA plays a critical role in making our AI infrastructure more productive.
Yeah.
Therefore, today, supporting more than 1 million GPUs worldwide, and customers that we're very proud of, like Nvidia, like X.AI, like Google, and many others, and many of the neo clouds using DDN. It's because of our software and orchestration software capabilities, which improves the economics of the AI infrastructure.
And you obviously, like you mentioned, that XAI is part of,
It's a customer.
customer. Given the scale of that, is there any particular, unique, like what do they come for? Is it as same as every other customer, or they have different requests?
They have X.AI with Groq, with a K, not Q, runs the largest file system known to mankind, which runs on DDN.
Right. Wow.
The requirements are, of course, custom.
Yeah. Yeah.
The requirement cannot be an off-the-shelf capability that you just buy from a store and go and deploy.
Yeah.
So our engineers had to work hand in hand with engineers from X to make sure that that environment is optimized and supported.
Yeah.
So this is, again, a long history of the company in working hand in hand with customers in creating environments that are fully optimized for the customer.
Yeah. And you talked about if you spend money on trading, you make money on inference. Can you help me to understand a bit more about,
The world of AI, simply stated, is divided in two camps. One, you have to train these models. when you train these models is where you're spending money, capex. Then you have to use these models to do anything, answers, run agents, perform tasks. That's where you make money. And this is why inference is exploding. Inference will be orders of magnitude larger than training. And right now, the world is facing a demand explosion for AI inference.
Yeah. And so inference is the new battleground.
New battleground in AI. Don't you doubt it.
Yeah. I want to talk to you about the competitive landscape. There are few players in similar to what you guys do. Like, for example, Vast, and few other players. How do you see the competitive landscape building in the next, year or so? Do you think this going to be on, and then it's going to be like, a small, going to consolidate it to like, one or two players? How do you see that?
Great question, sir. First and foremost, we respect all of our competitors. We have respect for all companies. But at the end of the day, we focus on what we do in-house. We cannot control what others do. We can control what we do. And our focus is not on our competitors. Our focus on us is to deliver the best version of DDN we can and we're capable of. And we have one significant advantage, our heritage in the large market share we hold in high-performance computing, HPC, high-performance computing. In that environment, we have learned a lot about resiliency, about scalability, and so on. And at the end of the day, is one thing if you and I run an experiment in our bedroom or in our small lab, it's a different thing if you run a production system at scale.
Yeah.
In the Cisco, we had a saying, everybody can get to the AT&T labs or AT&T Bell labs. Very few can get out of the labs and into the AT&T network because AT&T network can be down in the entire year for less than 2 minutes because of the reliability and resilience that they have. So our heritage in knowing what reliability, resilience, scalability means is a major advantage that DDN has and wants to build on.
Yeah, fantastic. Couple of last questions. I've seen a few few videos where people talk about AI is being a bubble. Is there anything that you feel that people get that wrong?
Ultimately, will things plateau, especially the level of capex spending? History and history of gravity says yes. But bubble that bursts, I don't see those characters because I'm one who lived through the dot-com bubble. I don't see those attributes. I don't see those characteristics. I don't, about you. I mean, I'm older than you. I cannot live without my own AI engines. Every day I'm on ChatGPT, on my own Claude, doing things, running things by it, and so on. And this is just the beginning. I can't. I see my family, I see my wife, I see my kids. Everybody is just beginning to adopt these set of capabilities in their everyday life and everyday job. We're in Paris right now. My assistant, was had late at night wants to go see a nice restaurant or whatever. She consults with her ChatGPT to choose the right restaurant in Paris.
Yeah.
And again, truly, forgive me for using an American analogy, this is the first or second inning of this game. And it's the biggest thing that I have seen in my long career.
Yeah, exciting times ahead. One of my best friend is a software engineer, and now he says he doesn't code anymore. He just use his judgment to he give the code to AI.
Prompt.
Yeah, and what's the future in short form? What's the future for software engineering? Do you think it's you would encourage young engineers to come to the field? How do you see that happen?
If I had young kids or brand new kids at this stage of my life, I would urge all of them, everyone, to learn how to ask questions, how to ask better questions, because that drives the value out of the AI systems.
Yeah.
And even software engineering, which requires vibe coding or prompt, whatever coding and so on, ultimately leads to, you have to have the human judgment. Ultimately, the human judgment is very difficult to replace, but learn how to ask good questions.
Final question. You came to United States with almost nothing, built a $1 million company, and lived through all the technology revolutions that we are here in the center of AI revolution. What would you say to a young 20-year-old moving, next month to United States or UK? What would your advice to them be?
First, do something you really love and are passionate about. I told you about my love affair with the Macintosh. Yeah. It was a love affair. I was in love with a machine. And I know that sounds weird, but it's true.
Yeah.
And don't ever, ever allow anyone to tell you that you can't do something.
Yeah. That's so important. Mohsin Masami, from $27 to the center of AI revolution. Thank you so much for being here. It's a real pleasure.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me, sir. Thank you so much.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Cheers.